remember how to do all this. Oh my gosh. Uh, am I live? Yes, yes, I am live. Nice. Okay, so yeah, this is the final session of CrystalCon 2026. I do have one more video that is I'm going to be uploading. Again, love rendering issues. Fun times using Adobe Premiere. Uh, but this is the last, but that is a recorded one, so this is the last session, and I am going to live code for you all using GitHub Copilot, and I'm going to try to build an accessible site. So this is pretty much vibe coding. I wanted to try it out because one of the things that I kind of briefly brought up in my opening session is how it's put forth that AI is the remedy for inaccessibility when it comes to technology and when it comes to applications and things like that. So why not put it to the test? And this is the test, and that is using it to build a accessible site from scratch, especially for someone trying to mimic, and this is going to be a little bit hard, trying to mimic someone who is kind of new to accessibility, has no real idea about accessible standards and things like that. They may have heard of WCAG, but they know that they need it. ARIA is something they may or may not know about. So trying to mimic that, I'm sitting here trying to think about what I'm going to code, and I think I'm just going to kind of go I'm going to go from the beginning, maybe like try to code a form, because like forms are usually and so sorry if that is, hopefully my mic is not too giving you any sort of feedback. And if you end up hearing a cat, because I do have a cat and she's very loud and she likes to make herself known. So and if you see me, if you hear me a lot of like noise, that means she is pretty much knocked over the mic because she doesn't like computers. Yeah, so just to give you a heads up with that. So okay, let's just get started. So I have I'm on Windows, so I have GitHub opened up. I have the dark mode, but maybe I probably should turn this in. I'm going to and I've been trying to increase the hopefully people can see it. I've been trying to, enlarge the screen, but it's not working. I've zoomed in quite a bit, but anything I'm doing is not. So I am hoping. So I'll just do a lot of. I'll just kind of talk you through everything I'm doing, just in case it's not viewable to you on the screen. I was going to do that anyway, but for even people who are blind or low vision, they may not be able to see it as well either. So I will definitely do all that. Okay, so I was hoping someone would give me an idea, because it's kind of one of those things of I don't know what I would really want to build. So I don't know. I think first let's just start with I was looking up kind of like basic prompts of what to do, and this is not my first use of Copilot. I have been kind of testing around with it, but again, I'm not trying to use it like I'm trying to kind of approach it as if I'm someone, um, who's kind of new to everything. So, okay. Ooh, let's just build a form. So I am going to, okay, I say, uh, let's prompt. Okay. I okay. So I'm gonna build. I am just going to build a contact or like a purchase form or something like that. So I'm like, it's like I need a form, and I guess maybe I'll actually start off with kind of the GitHub kind of Copilot screen. So it's in this panel on the left, on the right. Sorry, this is kind of the Copilot panel, and so it has the sessions, and like you can have multiple sessions connected to a particular repo or project, and you can go back and forth into sessions if you need to. It will save that. I have just live coding with GitHub Copilot, and it's on my GitHub account. It's public, so after this is over, you can kind of go in and see it. Um, Down in the very bottom, you kind of have your session target. You have local, you have background, like you can delegate tasks to a background agent running locally on your machine. And so via chat, it works asynchronously in a GitHub work tree to implement changes and isolate it from your main workspace using the GitHub Copilot CLI. You also have the cloud coding agent, and then also local, and then you have Claude, which is actually new. I actually hadn't seen that, but I do have a subscription to this. This is not the free free account. So that's actually new to me. I had not seen that. Um, next to that is the set agent. So you can actually have an agent that can edit your files and actually implement any sort of like code or changes that you want. You can ask and Copilot things. So this is if you want to kind of iterate through an issue or something that you want to build and not have it just absolutely just go ahead and do it, and then plan. And that's kind of a little bit more where it's like where ask is a little bit more freeform. Plan is where you'll ask it, it's like, oh, I want to build this type of application, and then it will give you the steps that it thinks that it wants to take, and then from there you switch to an agent, and then that agent will go ahead and start building things out. I when I've as I've been using this, I've actually not used ask. I've used plan and an agent the most. I haven't really used ask. So and then you can configure custom agents. I haven't done that, so I'm not going to do that. So actually, let's switch to plan before we actually start doing anything, and then you can choose the model. And there's quite a bit. Auto, and that's just if you are, especially if you're kind of paying as you go. Auto is where it chooses. It gives you a 10% discount because you don't choose the model, and then from there it goes. It goes kind of. It tells you the rate. Like Claude is probably the one that is on here. That is the rate is 3x. So and pretty much using that. This is if you're doing a lot of coding. These are the model. Claude is the model that you really want to do. And sort of like with math or things like that, you want to use the Claude models. Gemini, I again, you can use that as a code. It actually does well with text as well. And then, you have, GPT, and I have pretty much, when I've used it, I've kept it at auto. Not that I really care that it needs to, um, because I'm not really using this to really build anything out. It's mostly, I'm mostly just kind of been in here just experimenting and testing things out. So I've kept it at auto. But when I did switch to Claude once, when I was trying to build, I did use this to build out a app for my improv team, and there was a couple things, and I used it because I'm not a back end developer, and I needed some help with the database, and so that was pretty complex. So I switched to Claude because I found it gave me the most clearest kind of examples, and I was able to really get what I want out of it using Claude versus just having on auto and give me whatever. But honestly, unless you are someone who, if you're a developer, then you'll probably, want to kind of know about this, know which models are best for what different tasks. If you're someone who's like, well, I just want to vibe code, probably auto is the best, especially because you can definitely get close to running out of the kind of quote unquote credits that you have monthly if you're a paid subscriber, or definitely if you're free, because you'll run out of that pretty quickly. So you definitely would want to keep it on auto. And again, I should say with this, and let me check to make sure no one's asking any questions or anything like that. Again, sorry, I am definitely up here. Like I'm trying, I don't have a mod or anything. So I know this is a little bit, we're not coding anything, but I definitely want to take you through this because, again, I don't know if anybody's, if you're turning in and you've never used this before. So I just wanted to go through this a little bit. So right now I'm just going to keep it on auto. I'm going to plan out because I don't know what I want to do. And then, kind of, again, just telling you things, tools and stuff you want to use. So let's just get into it. I'm gonna, keep it at plan. Okay, outline to go to problem, to research. And so I'm just going to say, I want, and sorry for my spelling because I cannot spell. So you will probably see Grammarly pop up on here because I am a bad speller. So I did, I've never said I don't use AI, and the one thing I do use AI for, and I think a lot of people do and may not realize that it's quote unquote AI, is Grammarly, because and I've used Grammarly before it got this big push into AI, and I still use it because I am just I'm not a great speller at all. But okay, so I want to build a contact form, and let's just say I'm building a contact form for my freelance business. So for my freelance company, I want potential clients to give me their information, name, email, address, phone number, message, and I don't know, and time, it's like availability and availability, and the fields should be required except for phone number. And okay, yeah, you know what, let's just start with that. That is what, it's like a phone number. And yeah, so let's just start with this, not saying anything about accessibility. It's just like, someone came in and it's like, I want to build a contact form for my freelance company. I want clients to contact me. I want to give their name, address, and just kind of go there. And I'll let it know it's working. Again, things tend to go a bit fast sometimes. And I don't really, some of it, especially when I was doing the database, I did not like that because I actually was trying to understand what was going on, because it's not that I want this to do this for me. I definitely wanted to know how the database, how to implement it, and how, because again, I wanted to write tests. I wanted to, again, be able to fix anything if there were issues. And so sometimes with this, it goes a little bit fast, and I haven't really figured out a way to slow that down. So now what will happen is that you can technically, have it just kind of go and do its own thing, which is really something I would not want to do. But you can have it where it just starts, like, you let it take the steps that you want. Like it chooses for you. And that is quite scary to me. So now it's asking me the question of what tech stack should the contact form use? So plain HTML, CSS, JS, React, Next.js, and or other. Okay, let me check to see if there are any questions. And no questions. So I just want to make sure I'm not seeing anything. Okay, cool. So yeah, and so as accessibility, kind of professional, I am all about semantic, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript whenever possible, because again, that is going to give you the really, it's the easiest way to kind of, start off making sure that you have accessibility. And, not to say, semantic just, if you start off with it, it's going to be automatically accessible, but it's the easiest way to get to the most accessible, build as possible. And that is my opinion. It could be different, other people might feel different, but that's what I think. Then you have your React, you have Next.js. And so, depending on like if Next.js is really, and I have built an application in Next.js, that is really great to, if you want to get a mobile application up and you don't know any sort of, you don't know how to build a native iOS or Android app. So I've done that. That's great. React is React, very popular. So let's do this. It would be very easy just to say, okay, HTML, CSS, let's go with React. I'm just going to go with that. And okay, and this is also a new screen so we're going to start with React. And this is, where should I place the form in the repo? And a single new page file, integrate into existing page, create a simple SCR structure. And I am going to just say, new single page file, go there, and any visual direction or brand cues, color, fonts, and tone. With this, I am going to just say it should be accessible. it should be accessible. I'm not going to say it should follow WCAG, 2.1 level AA, because again, someone who may be building this may not even know, like they may not know that is, what that, they may not know that. A lot of times people do not know that. They don't know what standard of WCAG that, needs to be followed, especially when it comes for, to make sure you're conform for conformance or anything like that. But so let's just say it should be accessible. They know that much. And what should happen on submit? Okay, so you have client side only, no backend, and just validate and show a success. Submit to an email service, provide endpoint. I am not going to do the setting up the service and stuff, so we're just going to do client side only right now, so no back end right now. And that's it. So client side only, and we're going to have submit, and now it's analyzing. And again, it's not going to implement anything. This is just planning. Okay, so it's giving me the plan, and I'll wait for it. And then so proceed from plan. So this is when you start implementation. That's when it switches over to the agent, and that's when it will start things. Okay, so with this, it created the plan, and it's like, create a single page React contact form using a CDN based setup and a new index.html with accessible labels, require validation, client-side success messaging, styling will focus on clear focus states, legible typography, and form field errors without relying on color alone. This keeps it simple, no build setup, matches your new single-page file choice, and satisfies required fields except phone. And then it lists the steps. The step is to add a new index page that loads React DOM via CDN, then implement a contact form component with the controlled inputs that I said, and optional, the optional phone, and then message availability. It's going to enforce the fields and basic email format with client-side validation. Add accessible markup, label for each input. ARIA describe by for error messages, and ARIA live for submitting feedback, and keyboard visible focus styles. Provide lightweight styling in a style block inside HTML, the index HTML, layout, spacing, error states with text, and high contrast focus outlines. On successful submit, clear fields and show a non-modal success message, no network calls. And then verification, again, take you through open index in a browser, verify all required fields, block submission when empty, confirm phone can be left blank, and submit still succeeds, tap through fields, ensure focus, and screen reader friendly labels and errors. Try invalid email to confirm inline error and is acknowledged via ARIA Live and decisions. So use React via the CDN and index to avoid building tooling while honoring the React requirement. So I'm not going to give it anything else. I'm not going to tell it anything else. I could, but I kind of what I'm trying to do here is just mimic someone who wants, who is, they've been informed that they can now start building their own, they can start building their own websites, applications, just, on the fly. They can vibe code. So let's just start that. Start implementation. Not say that. Okay, so it's great. So it's going to start going through the steps. And there has been an update, because usually in the past, before this update, it would actually tell you the steps. It would list out the steps that it told you to do, that was going to do, and it would list them out kind of in the above, so you can see what step that it was on. But it seems like that has now been taken away, which is kind of unfortunate, because again, you kind of I think it's really nice to actually have that. Like if you're someone who's using this to learn how to, learn how to code, or you someone that you already know how to code and you're looking for you know a way to learn newer kind of languages and stuff. You kind of you want that type of guide, you want that to be more transparent. So I don't really like that. So okay, so again, so here it goes. Like it says it's done. Implemented the accessible React contact form as a single page index HTML with required validation for name, email, message, and availability, while keeping phone optional, plus inline success messaging and strong focus states. And then it goes, if you want, I can adjust the visual style to match your brand, add a real submit action, email service endpoint, add extra fields like budget, project type, or preferred contact method. So cool. This, and mainly I want to, cool. The main thing what I want to do is, sorry, I'm like, and I've noticed that it actually has not, it put all, so the one thing I noticed right off the bat, it put the styling completely in the index.html. Like there's no separate styling, and I don't really like that. So I'm gonna actually ask it, and it's like, so I'm gonna say, can you put the in its own folder, own style folder. So I just asked it to put the CSS in own style folder instead of inline in the indexed file. So it's doing that right now. Okay. Okay, cool. And again, what is with somehow I got okay. I've just noticed that YouTube just went off again. So let me try to get this back on again. I'm so sorry. I thought I had fixed it, and I thought it went live, and somehow it stopped going live. Okay, hold on just a second. I will figure this out. Sorry about this. Let me get this going. It should be. I don't know what is going on. It should actually be live for everybody. So hopefully, I don't so I don't know why that is happening. So sorry about that. Let me, I'm just trying to. Okay, cool. Okay, they figured it out. Sorry about that. So, great. This is, again, I'm trying to get this, like, this is so, again, so I'm trying to make sure this is, yeah, I'm really sorry. I cannot increase it enough. Let me see if I can go. No, I don't want to go out. I want to. No. Okay. What is going on? Like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm really trying to get this. Yeah, this is sadly, this is probably the most I can go in. I don't know why it won't go any, so it won't go any zoom in any further. So unfortunately, for the person that let me know, I can't zoom in any further on that. So that's why I've been I've been kind of narrating what I'm doing. So, okay, so we got everything. We're live. We're still live. I can't go zoom in any further, but now I've moved over the CSS into its own style folder. So it did create that. If you go into the left panel, not the far left, but the second kind of, almost to the far left, it created a CSS file, separate and not in index. Again, for a lot of this, it's again with vibe coding, my kind of issue with it is that it will build you exactly what you ask it to. That the problem is that depending on who is building it, they may not know what to ask it. So with this, it's like, okay, I build a form, but it's building inline, it's building inline styling. It's again, when it comes to accessibility, people may not know what as they said, it's just, the whole thing is like, okay, well, it's accessible. So, that is, that there's a lot you put in what you get out what you put into it, and if you don't know what to put into it, then you're going to get what you're going to get out of it may not be great. Okay, so now it's said it moved in. Do you want a different folder name or file name? No, I don't want that. What I do want to do is, so I'm going to ask it, it's like, I want to preview the form. So I'm going to say, I want to preview the form. So it's asking me if I want to create a virtual environment. Yeah, I'm going to say, yeah, go ahead, do it. So it's building a Python server. So cool. Let me switch over to the form. Give me just a second. I make it into. Okay. Okay, I have to stop the screen now, so I'm gonna stop. Okay. Cool. Okay, so here is the form that we that GitHub just created. So let me just make sure everyone can see it. You can't? Cool. So here we are here. And so let us build your next project. Again, it will, it will definitely, one thing that also happens with Copilot or any of these like kind of coding, AI coding, vibe coding things that, it makes up its own, text stuff. Again, you have to, explicitly tell it everything you want. Otherwise, it will just create what it wants. So again, so that is why this, like, it doesn't, this is its filler text. So we have the full name, email address. Again, I didn't tell it to, have two separate fields for name. It chose to do full name, email address, phone number, optional. And I realized it's like, and email address. So actually, one thing I am going to do right now is stop, because I realized like my password thing is like, not that my password is like showing, but I just realized that my password is like, could technically be seen. So let me remove this and then remove that thought, that because I was in awesome. Okay. Okay. Now what I'm going to do. Okay, now let me go back and share this with everybody. Sorry about that. Okay. So we're back at the form, and so we're just gonna first I'm gonna tab through it. Okay. Actually, let me see if one thing I want to do first is okay. Sorry, let me stop sharing for just again. I am cool. Okay, I'm just having technical difficulties. I love when that is happening. Okay, cool. Okay, let's go back. Again, sorry about this. This is so. I try not to use Zoom because that's a lot easier for me, but unfortunately, unfortunately, I decided to use StreamYard, and I've just had some issues with it. Okay, so we're back here. We have the forms. What I'm going to do now is I'm gonna actually, and we're going to again, we're gonna run Lighthouse on this. Um, Again, I just want to see kind of what, so we're going to run an accessibility check on this. I asked for it to be accessible and kind of see what, get a kind of light sense of what it put out. So, and again, this is also when you running Lighthouse on a page or anything like that. It's a good start. It's not like you can't just like it's a right now. Lighthouse is giving a it's Lighthouse is giving a sorry about that. Oh gosh, I hate this. So I ran Lighthouse. Lighthouse is given a score of 98. And again, these scores are not, the end all be all. This is not getting a score from 98 from, Lighthouse. Any sort of semi-automated accessibility tool does not mean that yes, you are, you're, WCAG compliant or anything like that. It is a good guide, but you still do need to do a lot of, checking of things. So right now with this, just purely what Copilot put out, Lighthouse is saying that it has a score of 98. And so right now, one of the best practices that it's highlighting is that the document does not have a main landmark. So it has a score of 98, but it doesn't, have a main, landmark to help for screen readers. So yeah, I don't really know. Again, you really can't just rely on things like a Lighthouse or Axe or anything like that. You can run them. They're good to have. They're good for support. But again, don't just rely on that and think that you're good because you got a 98 or 100 or whatever. And so right now, so I did, purely. So I'm gonna put my name here. So it looks like all the validation happens on like submit. So let's just try to, submit it. Okay. I can tell right now that the one thing is that the error color contrast is really this more than likely would fail. And again, I'm kind of going off of I'm going off the vibe, so I'm not, it could be, but the red it looks dark, but again, this is something that I would really check. This also, there's this right under the phone number, which is optional, and so this is not a error message or anything, but this color contrast with include country code if outside the US, that is also something that probably would, I think might fail. And then, project details, again, the same kind of color issue. Also, with project details, this error message is really, it's saying, please tell me about the project. And it's an error message, but it's worded in a way that it doesn't really let you know that this, you missed that and you really do need to put that in. And then also, there is no designation of what actually is required. There's no saying that it's full name is required, email address is required. There's no asterisk, so like kind of a design pattern that people would expect for when it's fields are required. None of that is there. And so again, it has a 90, it has a 98 from, Lighthouse, but there's still a lot of things that are, that are, would not, that violate, WCAG conformance. Again, WCAG conformance is not the end all be all. It's, definitely for legal requirements for, depending on what industry you're in, very important. But again, WCAG should be conforming to WCAG should be the start, and not just you're in the place that you want to end up when it comes to accessibility. But I won't get too in the weeds about that. So this is what it gave to us, and yeah. So let's kind of go back and start to make this more accessible. And yeah. So let me go in here. We'll go back to okay. Cool. Okay. So we're back at we're back in with Copilot, and okay, so let's realize this is funny. I don't actually know how to stop this one because I'm not an NPM, so I'm like that. Actually, but I'm running the server with that. So let's do the same. Stop. Stop server. So stopping the server. Oh, okay. Whoa, cool. So, okay, cool. So cool. I realized I was like, oh no, I didn't. I was like, I've never used a Python server before, so when I'm working on stuff, I'm usually NPM, and I'm usually I know all the keystrokes for that, but I didn't know for this. So cool. That's neither here nor there. So okay, we're going to go and try to kind of clean this up. So what I'm going to do is tell it, it's like, I need for the yeah, it's like make all give all of the required fields and indicator that it is required. And I'm going to say the error messages need to be clear about what is wrong when the user doesn't fill out the form. Okay, again, it gets really, really fast with it. So it just says that it's going to add asterisks to the required fields. It's going to make sure the error messages are more descriptive. It's looking at the current form. The phone is optional, so it's like an asterisk. It's updating currently. Maybe add a note about required fields. It's like, okay, so it, name is required. So this is telling us it's going to now have a red asterisk The error messages are these. This is what's going to have when there's an error message. Name is required. Please enter your full name. Email is required. Please provide a valid email or valid email format. Please use the format blah blah blah. Name and whatever. Project details are required. Please describe your project. Availability is required. Please indicate when you are available. And so, the header now states fields marked with, asterisks are required, and phone number remains optional without an asterisk. So that is what it just added for everything. I'm also going to go ahead and tell it, because when we did the Lighthouse analyzer, that it told that it didn't have the HTML it didn't have a main landmark. So I'm gonna first let's just look at it again, and then I'll tell it to do that. So okay, it's like server again. Whatever, I'm just gonna do this for cool. Okay. And oh, cool. Why am I going? That was just so weird. I don't know why I was going to. Okay, cool. Okay, so cool. Oh, I don't know why I was going to switching anyway. So, we're in. So this makes everything so much easier. Again, sorry. This is my first live coding session, so this is a little bit nerve-wracking for me. I hate coding with other people watching. I'm really bad at peer coding because I get so nervous. So again, here we are. It pulled up again. So now it does have the asterisks. It does have a message that that fields are marked with asterisks are required. So it did add that, and it has. So let's just see. Let's just kind of tab through it, and okay. So going up here, name is required. Please enter from name. This one thing I've noticed that it actually has increased. It has increased the font size of the error messages. So, and it actually has. I do have a visual impairments. The red looks a lot more, like the contrast is a lot better. Again, I can't say, I can't say without, analyzing it for certain that it would meet contrast, color contrast ratios, but I'm assuming so, but again, not, I won't bet you on or anything like that. So it has done that. So it did. So we're good on this particular part of the site. But again, there's still kind of some things that are missing. So, color contrast and the focus, the indication R is good with that. Again, we didn't do anything super complex. And, even with the one thing that I'm actually pretty And again, I'm not, we're not evaluating this for any sort of, there is some kind of wonkiness with the field sizes and stuff when they get focused on, the one thing it did with the placeholder, it didn't make the placeholder the label, which sometimes, which I've definitely thought maybe it would particularly do, but it didn't. So okay. I think right now we're gonna take this a little bit more. So let's start kind of adding more complex things to it. And so instead of the availability, instead of just having it be a field where people would just, someone would just, type out availability, we're going to now have it where we're going to use radio buttons and have that, and have say radio buttons for times a day, like different ranges of times a day. So we'll just have it say, morning, afternoon, and evening. So stop server. Okay, so instead of the availability screen field, sorry, that's being a, I realize I shouldn't have killed the server, but whatever. Well, like again, I'm getting so nervous. Standard availability for being a text, being text. It should be radio buttons that for three for say morning, afternoon, and evening. So let's have it do that. Okay. Okay, so availability field is now a set of radio buttons with 3 options: morning, afternoon, and evening. The required validation error messaging still work, and the radio buttons are styled to match with the form's design and the accessible markup. So, yeah. Server. This time I'm not going to stop the server, because I realize it'll just update as long as I have it up. So cool. Okay, so it's back up, and okay, so we have the availability in the morning, afternoon, and evening. So okay. And the kind of keystrokes, I'm using the arrow keys to go in between. And again, I'm not using the screen reader right now. One, because trying to go in between all that is really that it's not easy for me to do that stream at the same time. So again, I'm doing most of this just kind of, I'm just doing all this by navigating via keyboard. So okay, so now let's just submit it and see what the error messages look like for the update. Okay. Okay, so yeah, that's fine. Yeah, and given that these are radio buttons, like the only way, like there shouldn't really be, there's not really a good way to force an error. Like, I guess I could if I immediately opened up the page or refreshed the page and then clicked send query, because then I wouldn't have actually navigated to availability. So let me see if I can. Let me refresh. Okay, let's do that and see what the error message is. Okay, cool. Yeah, so it does have the error. It's availability is required. Please indicate when you are available. So did do that. Okay, cool. So we're kind of getting there. Let's start to do some more kind of, again, add some more things in. Again, we're starting to, get there. So what I'm gonna do right now, actually no, I want to add let's add some more kind of complicated things. Okay, we're going to add a calendar. So we're actually going to we're going to have it add a calendar. So it's like, so availability should also have a calendar that allows the user to select a date they will be available along with the times of day. Okay, so I'm having it add a calendar. Okay. So it's definitely thinking. Okay, so it's added a field now includes a date picker with a minimum date of today. Users can't select past dates. Radio buttons for time of day, morning, afternoon, evening. Validation that requires both date and time selections with clear error message. So I did not tell it to do all that. All I said was it should have a calendar that allows the user to select a date, and everything else was filled in by Copilot. So let's refresh and see what it did. Okay, so here is the availability, and now it has select date. And so here is the calendar component. And the main reason why I did the calendar component to have it add a calendar, because calendars are probably one of the most tricky components to when it comes to accessible. Every time I have, I've joined a project or audited, been asked to audit something, and there is a calendar there, more likely that calendar is going to be highly inaccessible. But let's see exactly what what Copilot has done, especially since I did give, it does have the prompt to make things accessible. Like, we'll see what that means kind of by default for it. Okay, so yeah. So I didn't even get Yeah, that was weird. Okay, so no, so we're there. Okay. Surprisingly, this is not the worst calendar commander I've ever saw. So, um, yeah. Okay, I'm just using the keyboard to okay. Using arrow keys to go between the months. And then, so that was the left and right to go between the months, and then go between the years is up and down arrow key. And as it said, you cannot go back in time. So hit enter, and then that takes you to, so it selects the month. It's on the current date. Since I selected February again, and then using the left and right keys, the arrow keys to go between the dates, and then hit enter and we'll say 21st, then it selected 21st. Okay, and then the focus order is still pretty good. So let me see if I can add. Okay, so it's letting, so I can add. Okay. 20, 26. Okay, so it looks like, again, when I hit enter, so with that, it does, so it's not correcting, so it says that you can't select a past date, but that's not correct because right now I have it for March 14th, 2025. The only thing that it's getting an error for is the time of day. So let's see if I just select the time of day and see if it will send an error. No. Okay. Hold on. Trying to. Yeah. So let's just do some like NA. Crystal. It's like test.com. Okay, so yeah, so that again, I know we're more focused on accessibility, but that's clearly an error. Well, it's clearly it is an error. Again, we didn't specify it, but Copilot did say that users can't select past dates, but that is incorrect. So that sort of validation does not work. Okay, so but overall, that calendar, at least when it comes to like keyboard check, is and again, I'm not doing like a super thorough like audit. Again, I'm not using a screen reader to go through things. I'm just using keyboard. It's not a bad one for not giving any sort of parameters other than there should be a calendar. But I don't know what is being announced, but it'd be a keyboard, and that's something we definitely would have to, go over and use. So with that, let's add a couple more, like let's get a little bit more, and I'll probably stay on till about 3. Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of close this out at 3 Mountain Time, and thank you all for like you're probably gonna be in the future. thank you for hanging in there. Future, or if you're here right now, I see there's like a couple of people watching, which I'm thank you. Like, I know this has been a mess. Again, this is my first time doing live, like any sort of live coding. Even though I'm not really live coding, I'm just telling this thing to do what it wants. And even if I practice, it's so different when I know like people are watching. So okay, so we added the calendar. The calendar wasn't bad. There is some things that are errors, but that's more usability versus accessibility issues. So let's something. Would it be something else that would? Oh, yeah. Let's add trying to think. Yeah, let's add a checkbox. So it's like, okay, um, it's like add a check boxes. Sorry. This is for type of service. What? Oh my god. Needed. Offered are audits, development, I think, and let's say policy. So, okay, add checkboxes for types of services needed. Offered are audits, development, and policy. So let's add, how about add checkboxes? Again, this it goes really, really fast. Again, I can't really slow it down, like, except for when it's like thinking. So it goes through. Again, it's really unfortunate that they've put this all into here when before a lot of a lot of the steps that it would take, it would have up here where you could toggle on and off and see what steps it was, number of steps it was on. So that's all been pushed into this kind of like internal section, and as soon as it's done, that goes away, which I don't really like. So I will try to see if that's, I'll not that I'm going to be really using this after this. I see the attraction for vibe coding, but I also I don't want to pay for this. And also I like the control, even though I'm not the best coder or anything. I like knowing exactly, what I did wrong and figuring that out versus trying to see what this did wrong and then trying to correct it. So, but no, so it added a service needed with a checkbox for audits, development, and policy. Users can select multiple options, and the field is optional with a hint. Select all that apply. Again, it's going to throw whatever is, it thinks that you want. Again, if you don't specify, then it gives you it'll just throw whatever it wants to do. So, okay, let's, cool. There. So services needed, and then it's like audits, development, and policy. So let me navigate down. Okay. Cool. Okay. And then what I'm gonna do, submit, see with a, okay, that's right. It did make it optional, so there is no error for that. So Um, Given that we're like 30 minutes in, so what I'm gonna do now is start to add in. Um, I'm just gonna start telling it to make this WCAG 2.1 level AA compliant and see what changes that it makes to it. And then I'm going to actually go back, instead of running it um, in VS Code, I'm going to actually run it in a browser and see what happens with and just run Lighthouse. So. Okay, so it's like, make this form WCAG 2.1 level AA compliant. Okay, let's see what it does. It's working. Okay, so it starts going in. Oh, that's so fast. So it says color contrast, keyboard navigation, focus indicators, form labels, error. So it's going through everything. Touch targets, a minimum of 44 pixels. Touch targets for mobile, field sets and legends, required field indication, error messages. Like, so right now it's going through and looking at color contrast issues. It's also touch targets, focus indicator, autocomplete attributes. Should add autocomplete for better accessibility. Labels associations need to ensure all form controls have proper labels. So it's error announcements. Error should announce to screen readers via ARIA Live when they appear, and the success message already has. I'm reading this just I'm reading this. Well, it's gone again. Wasn't fast enough. Okay, so it went and said, made the form WCAG 2.1 level AA compliant with these improvements. So it said color contrast. It updated all colors to meet 4:5:1 minimum contrast ratio, darkened all muted text, adjusted the error and border colors, increased all interactive elements to a minimum of 44 by 44 pixels, enlarged radio checkbox inputs to 20 pixels with padding, added minimum button height to 44 pixels, and added visible 3x focus. So it went through kind of a basic, and so pretty much from using this before, it goes through kind of a basic WCAG checklist. It doesn't get, if there are things that are conflicting or a little bit tricky, just from my, as I've tried, I've used this before to kind of see what it could do. That's when things get a lot iffy with this. And again, if you're someone who doesn't have that knowledge, then you may not know that, it's, Copilot says that it's good, but but there's conflicts, there's things that are not really apparent and may seem like it's accessible, but it's not. But for something that is pretty basic like this is, it'll go through that kind of basic checklist and kind of, fix those issues. But again, when you get from more complicated pages, interactive forms, or applications, then it really, it doesn't kind of, the form, this kind of checklist really is not going to help you unless you really do understand what you're looking for and understand how things can conflict with what you're building. Okay, so let's refresh this and see what happens. Okay. I can see that, yeah, it did, there's a little bit of difference of like, yeah, the form focus indicators are a little bit more defined. See what it did to the calendar. The calendar is pretty much the same. So I didn't really do anything. I didn't say it was doing anything that okay. Let's look at so the one thing I definitely did notice is that it did fix the focus indicator for the send inquiry button, because before it had a kind of orange like outline that was very close to the button. It really, it was visible, but it wasn't perfect, and that's something that I probably would have noted. Like maybe it doesn't completely, it may not have violated any sort of WCAG success guidelines, but it could have been a lot better. But so it did go ahead and do that and fix that focus indicator. So let's just hit things. So definitely one thing I've noticed is, like, you can notice is that the error messages are a lot darker, the font is a lot larger as well. Yeah, so with these, a lot more noticeable. And now it has actually added a list of everything. Again, and I'm not again, this is a very simple, I'm not deep diving into an audit. There's definitely more stuff that's, that we're not, I haven't pointed out or didn't make, note of, but, but just the bigger things that I noticed. And one thing I didn't talk about, but it actually did add a summary of all the errors. And so now it says, please correct the following, and then gives a list of what is actually, missing and needs to be corrected. And, and this is something that you would need to check out with the screen reader to make sure that it's announced. And then, also along with the screen reader, you need to check what is happening with the ARIA labels and, with like live, assertive and stuff, and make sure that's actually happening there. So with this, I'm actually going to kind of cut it. I'm going to kind of, this wasn't supposed to be a super deep dive into it. I kind of wanted to show you kind of what is being offered out there for people who are, when it comes to vibe coding and, what is being said. Well, this is something that can help people, especially developers, designers, people in tech, and that even outside of if you want to build an application, you want to get a website up and running, you can use this. But it's also being said that this can help you make things accessible. But again, it really, you get out of it what you put into it. And so if you're not saying, and you don't know, and you have no real clue about what makes a web page accessible, what makes an application accessible for people, who use assistive technology, who have various, disabilities and various needs, then using something like this is it's not going to make it accessible unless you absolutely know what you need to look out for, what you need to start prompting it. And even with this, even saying, hey, it's WCAG, I need this to be WCAG 2.1, level AA compliant. Again, it will give you the basics, and and that's fine if you have a very straightforward and uncomplicated application or site. But when you start getting into things that are really complicated, there's a lot of different controls, and a lot of maybe controls that are, or complex. Then you need you. That's not gonna get you to where you need to be, because even just saying that, it gives you a baseline of what to work with, but it's not going to get you all there, because there's going to be things, there a lot of people don't realize that people sometimes things can conflict, and when people have different disabilities, and you're trying to make sure everyone can access things, and things can sometimes needs can conflict with each other, and then you're needing to know how to go about to solve for conflicting needs. And that is not something that you can really vibe code for, unless you have had that experience of how to deal with that. And it can't make that decision for you of, like, gauging, well, you know if you're push you have to make a call of, like, what need is going to be um, solved for. And sadly, this does happen, and one need may not be get a solution. Then as a accessibility professional, sometimes you have to make those tough calls. And something like GitHub Copilot is not going to help you make that call. So it's great to, if you know what you're doing, and someone, you have someone that can check your work, and kind of, and test and things like that. It's great for that. It's really good for learning how to, like, code. For me, I'm learning Python. So I'm starting to, it's been really helpful for me to learn how that. But there's a lot to be desired, especially when it comes to accessibility. So that's kind of what I wanted to show with this. Again, thank you so much for being up here. You're definitely. I'm going to post this up to my GitHub. It's going to be public. I'll put it onto the site so you can access it, so you can do your own testing. I'm going to leave it up as is, so this kind of final version, so you can go in, pull it down and test on your own, and see what it did good, what else is desired, what it didn't get right. So that is it. Thank you so much for being here. Oh my gosh, I'm never ever coding live again. I love doing tutorials that are pre-recorded so I can redo things. So again, thank you. I'll put this up on my GitHub, and I will see you later, or never, but be well. Have a have a good day. Bye.